Hey guys, hope you're having a good day. I'd actually made a video earlier and then I had to get on a meeting that lasted a while. And so when I clicked over, because I learned today that when you are on video on your computer, you can't use your video for Zoom. So I learned something new. So, but anyway, so I had to get out of it and it lost everything that I did earlier. So that's why I'm doing this a little bit later to get this out to you guys. Because of that, I did want to go over our book. Chapter 3, yes, Silas, in your textbook, chapter 3, there is one. You need to know that information this week because I am going to be assessing you on it. But because this is getting out a little bit later than I would have liked, your quiz will be Monday, and it needs to be completed by 11:59. Your topic for your final project is still due on Sunday evening, 11:59. It's already been loaded into your module for this week. So I'm not going to change that. What's that going to look like? It is going to be set up in MLA. It needs the running header, heading information, Times New Roman 12, strict double space. Your title will actually be what the topic of your project is going to be, and then the content, which really should not leave page 1, will be the reasoning behind why you're choosing that topic. And I am reading these because I want to see some engagement with whatever it is that you are going to research. And because if you're not engaged with what you're researching, it's going to make it arduous. And again, there's not a whole lot of things, especially on the college level, that you really have control over sometimes of what you're writing. And if you do get a choice, make it something that you like. So again, the things to look at as you're working on your project, you are going to be doing an evaluation on either a company, it could be a political party, it could be an organization. Remember, we're kind of looking at this as a consumer. People will support different companies and organizations and products or whatever. And a lot of times we really don't know if they are really portraying themselves correctly. And so I want you to choose something that you are going to evaluate to find truths. And so you can have a more well-rounded and solid opinion of at the end, and that you really know and understand what this organization is going to be about or whatever it is that you're researching. So I really want to make sure there's so many things that you can choose from. And like I said, I know in class somebody was talking about, researching the Republican Party, or the Democratic Party. That's fine. Main thing is that whatever you're choosing, you have to make sure that you are looking at this objectively and you are not coming at this already tainted with your opinion already made. So in that case, sometimes it's very hard to move that emotion if you already feel strongly about something out of the way in order for you to look untainted at something. So if you were really already emotionally charged by whatever it is, I'm going to encourage you to try to choose something else so you're just able to look at it more objectively. Now, if you can't put those emotions aside, and you're able to look at it objectively, then okay. But remember that sometimes when we are emotionally charged, it's really hard to get that out of the way. And it really is evident in your writing because of your word choices. You really can't hide that. So if you can step back and be objective, I'm cool with it. But if you're going to have a problem with that, then I would say try to choose something else. But there's so many things that are out there to look at. Please be thinking about it. Do some research. You can do some preliminary research on different companies. It could be like Starbucks, Hobby Lobby. Like I said, organizations could be Goodwill, United Way, things that, where people are investing and where they're putting money into things. Salvation Army, are they really doing what they say they're going to be doing with these donations and the money that they're making? Are they really supporting those programs, that kind of thing? It could be churches, it could be government seems to be an obvious one, but honestly, this project is no more than 10 pages. So if you did the government, you'd never be able to fit everything. So I'm just going to take that off the table because you're just not going to be able to do it. So yeah, because I don't really want to read past 10 pages. So, just kind of think about something that you would like to research, and, if there's something about the government, something specific, and if you're like, I really want to do that, shoot me an email. Let's process through it together and then make that determination. When in doubt, email me. Remember, I am reading these, and so if I have any questions, remember, I have to have a final approval on all your topics, and so I will communicate that with you after I read it to, either say, okay, you got a thumbs up, you're good to go, or we need to chat about this and, get this taken care of at the beginning. Remember, I usually will allow you a one-time topic change, but, you fight me on something, and if I tell you that, hey, I'm going to encourage you to do something else, if you continue to persist, I'm going to let you do it, but I would strongly encourage you to kind of listen to me, because, sometimes we have a different perspective, and I want you to be successful on your project, and that you're able to get all the information that you need. So, that's why I want to have final say so, to make sure that you are primed and in a good position to have a successful project. So that's basically the whole reason for that. Okay, so let's jump on in. Again, it's going to be on chapter 3. I'm starting on page 66, and also the lectures from Wednesday. You do need to know claims versus evidence, or claims and evidence equals support. But you do need to know the difference between a claim and evidence. They are two different things, but they work together in order to have support for whatever your thesis is. And so that was one of the things that I was seeing on the rhetorical analysis, that I was, it was kind of murky. You can make the claim, but if you don't have the support or that evidence behind it, then it really falls flat. You need to know what an argument is. Why do you need to know an argument? Arguments are, it's almost like, how do you view it? An argument has two sides. And because of that, that means you have to have the yin and the yang of it. You cannot look at it just with one idea and then write based on that, because by definition, an argument has two sides, and so you have to see both sides of it. That's why it is so important that when you are researching this for your project, you have to be able to put yourself in an objective position and be able to see both sides, how people view it, and then you're researching for truth. Everybody has an opinion. We watch the news. We see that all the time. Everybody has an opinion, but that doesn't make that it's correct. What we're looking for is, yes, these are the things that are being said. These are the claims that these companies are making. But now we're going to take it a step farther, and we're looking for evidence to either support or refute whatever those claims are. So it's very exciting. So you need to know that. It talks about deciding to write an argument, where you would have the concept of argument, which is evaluations, proposals, literary analysis, that kind of thing. You have to offer level-headed and disputable claims. That's because you need to influence an audience. And if you don't have solid information, then people aren't going to take you seriously. And so it has to be viable. It has to be something that is plausible and something that people can hold on to. You have to have good and reasonable support. We talked about that. Understand opposing claims and points of view. Common sense. Frame arguments powerfully and not in words only. That's more for that visual piece of it that honestly you will be doing in your final project. Because remember that even this is where you will have that visual piece of it in order to help you as you are speaking, where that's going to help to supplement whatever it is that you're talking about, and as you are giving this proposal. So that you definitely need to know. All right, so we're going to shoot over here. They have a big example up through page 76. I'd read it. Going on to 77. Basically what that is, it's like your question outline. When you find out what your topic is, I would go ahead and brainstorm. What are some things that come to your mind when you think about this company? Obviously, you've got some type of connection. You already made some sort of an opinion about it or what you've heard about it. Write those things down, because remember, when we do those question outlines, we're just bullet pointing them. That's actually starting your research. It's not your begin and end all, but it does give you direction so you can at least start the project. Remember, we're breaking these things down into small workable pieces. When you look at things as the big picture, it's hard, it's hard and it's overwhelming to say, oh my gosh, where do I start? This is where you start. You pick your topic and then you start brainstorming questions about that. And like I told you guys the other day, I have never started a project without writing questions. I will have whatever topic is given, and then I just sit there and what are some things that I want to know? What are some things that I would think other people would like to know? What do I think that, what type of research would I need to do, in order to meet the objectives of what's being required of me? So do not discount that. Please do not skip that step, because it's so very important in order to get you going. Once you get into the research, now there's sometimes you're getting into it and it leads you into different directions. Wow, that's fantastic. But it's usually that starting, getting out of the gate. Your question outline is really useful for that. Let me see. Helps you learn more about your topic. Thesis statement. Arguments fail because writers never focus their thinking. There's a lot to be said with that. They wander around vague topics, throwing out ideas and making contradictory assertions and leaving it to the reader to assemble the random parts. Well, that's why you have a thesis statement, because your thesis statement is what brings it in and gives your research direction, gives your paper direction. So that is very, very important. Qualify your claim, make it reasonable. Again, logic. Examine your core assumptions. Definitely read through that. Okay, then we shift over into the rhetorical triangle. We shift into ethos, pathos, and logos. Again, not a new concept. Remember that it's a triangle, and we've already established that it is a solid structure. And if any one of those sides is missing, then it means that the structure has been compromised and that it's not going to be a solid piece of work. So the ethos, pathos, and logos, each of those have to work in tandem together in order for you to have a solid project, solid paper, especially when we're going into those things. So remember, ethos is, what is your credibility? What does that look like? Is it just one thing that makes your research credible? What are the things that go under ethos in order to give credibility to whatever it is that you're doing? And the research that you're doing. Pathos, that passion, that emotion. Remember, usually that piece of it is what is engaging your audience, because we are emotionally driven. And if you can tug on heartstrings, you usually have someone's attention. If you tick somebody off, you've got their attention. It's the emotion of it. With that being said, talking about your audience, we're going to talk about that in a second. That's very important, because you have to think about your audience when you're doing that piece of it. The logos of it, that's your logistics, that's your, the logic that goes behind it, and your support. Now, with that being said, and kind of going back to audience, obviously I'm going to ask you, who's your audience? And I know that your first response is you. Where that is partially true, it is not completely true. Your peers are your audience. And so your project should be geared towards your age group. You are college freshmen. You are young adults. And it should reflect that. Now, does that mean that you use everyday vernacular? No, this is still an academic project. It has to be written in academic verbiage and professional verbiage, but you're you're just not going to use the 6-inch words. You still need to engage. You need to think about who you're trying to educate and perhaps persuade. If your findings are that this company or this organization is not on the up and up, you want people to know and you want them to engage with that. But if your message goes over someone's head or you speak to them like they're idiots, you've lost them. You guys are intelligent. Yes, you are. You are intelligent. Speak to the level that you are. And so I don't want to see any, that's whack or any of that stuff. That's not appropriate at all. It still has to be academic verbiage. It has to be done in a professional manner. Okay. But you do need to reach your age group, not just with how you are presenting your material, but also remember you have a visual component and you need to engage them. Remember, the visual component is to supplement what you are saying and to help keep the engagement moving along. Find counter arguments. It is so important. That's why I was saying you guys have got to be objective. You have to think, okay, well, if this is one stance, what's the other? You have to be doing the yin and the yang of it, and that's really, really important. And on any successful argument. Originally we were supposed to be doing debates. That is huge with debates, because when you're debating, you have to think about the questions that someone else is going to ask you. And because debates really are an argument. And if you don't take into consideration other viewpoints, then you're not effective, because people are like, well, you never answer that. Think about our politicians when people ask questions and they divert or they don't answer them at all. That doesn't promote confidence. That doesn't promote any type of engagement. In fact, it actually starts to make people think, well, you really don't know what you're talking about, or how can I trust you because you're not answering the question. So you have to ask the questions that you have to be able to answer those questions that are going to be asked, which means that you have to think both sides of it and you have to be open to those answers. And if there's legitimacy behind it, again, you have to take a step back, you have to be objective, and you have to be able to weigh all the information in front of you objectively. Consider emotional appeals. We've already talked about that. 86, creating structure. It actually gives you some ideas of how you are creating an argument. Again, we've talked about these. Make a point and build towards one. Spell out what's at stake. Address counterpoints when necessary, not in a separate section. Save your best arguments for the end. And there's a lot of logistics to that, especially because you really want to end on a strong note. So you just want to think about, when you're making those points for, whatever your research is, you want your big guns at the end. You don't want to start out and then it kind of loses its momentum. You want to build up to the big reveal. Talks about sentences, rhetorical questions, pretty much already talked about that. And that's basically it. Just making sure that you have listened to, the lecture, you've gone through this. Now, I know that this is not new. I know that. You've been quizzed on this stuff. But I am quizzing you differently, and it will definitely look more of the application of these concepts rather than what concept is the credibility of blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give you an example, and you're going to tell me, is it ethos, pathos, logos? I'm going to give you an example, and you're going to tell me, is this evidence or is it a claim? When you are considering an argument, what must you need? Or why is it important? Well, what's the concept of an argument, and why is that important? The main concept of an argument is it has two sides. Why is that important? So you're able to objectively look to gain the truth of whatever it is that you're researching. We're seeking truth. Everybody has an opinion. Truth is what's needed. And if you're going to make decisions as an adult, you have to make them based on facts, not someone else's rhetoric. We've already done that deal. We've looked at other people's rhetoric. We did the logical fallacies, and we saw the manipulations that can occur. and it irritated you. So this is our fact finding, our truth mission of really researching to be a better consumer and a more well-informed adult. So this is exciting. What a great opportunity. I just see so much value out of this project. So that's what it's going to look like. Let me look to my notes real quick. I think... Yeah, I think that that's about it. Okay, what I was also going to be doing with you guys, I am still constructing this because this is a new project, and so I'm getting all of that information together, and I will be creating that module for your final project. What will be included in that is just basically the information that you will need in order to create it. Your last week, or when that project is due, all of the actual submission links will be in that week that they're due. Okay, so just kind of be on the lookout for that. Just to reiterate, from Wednesday, we are not going to have a meeting on Friday because this is pretty much clear cut. I just want to make sure that we're solid in these concepts. So next week, we're going to go into chapter 4, which is evaluations. Please make sure that you have that chapter read before Wednesday. Okay, and so we can get going on that, and all of my stuff should be definitely by Wednesday, so I can start going over that for you, and I will have the remainder of the semester paced out with dates and all of that good stuff, so I can go over that with you guys on Wednesday. So you guys have a blessed evening and a wonderful weekend. Get outside, try to get some sunshine, and if you have any questions, as usual, just shoot me an email. And let me know so I can clarify for you. So, but that's it. And so you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you next Wednesday.